Good morning. I would like to convene the April 2024 Bridges and Tunnels Committee meeting. Ms. Pascone, are there any public speakers?
Good morning. We have 8 members of the public registered to speak today. As a reminder, we ask that all public speakers adhere to the MTA's rules of conduct and decorum. I would also like to remind our public speakers that in the interest of time and fairness to all speakers, we limit everyone to 2 minutes. Please be aware of the clock in the front of the room and the warning light you will see reminding you that you have 30 seconds left to conclude your remarks. The first speaker will be Michael Cohen. Following will be Maddie Bucas-Hyland, followed by Jack Nierenberg.
Hi, I'm Michael Cohen. I would like to say that I feel that I'm glad that congestion pricing is going to be implemented. But what I also ask is what will be done to improve the bridges and tunnels to make them more accessible for pedestrians and bicyclists, and also to have decreased congestion in tunnels, because even though we're reducing congestion on the streets, I think it's important to reduce congestion in tunnels and bridges as well, and to improve them so that they can be used for more than just vehicles, so that there can also be pedestrian access and all sorts of things like that on all the tunnels and bridges. And I noticed because a lot of them are they go straight to the highways, and there's no, if you look at the Brooklyn Queens tunnel, there's no, the Queens Midtown tunnel, there's no access for pedestrians. And I'm wondering would it be possible to also include pedestrian access so that I know that most of the ones that are maintained by the city include pedestrian and bicycle access, and I wonder why the same can't be done for the MTA's facilities, so that more people can use those facilities to get across the rivers and go to other places as well. And I'd like to see that done with some of the funds raised from congestion pricing, so that there can be more options.
Thank you. The next speaker is Jack Nierenberg. The next speaker is Maddie Buckies-Hyland, followed by Jack Nierenberg.
You got it right this time, Miss Pascone. Good morning, everybody. This is Maddie W. Buckies-Hyland. For today, I want to speak about fare evasion. I would like to first thank President Kathy Sheridan and our lawmakers by making fare evasion. Listen, no one likes to pay the fares. In fact, some of us, the workers that live in New Jersey in this boardroom right now, have to pay $13.38 or even $17.63 to get from New York from a crossing from an operation by the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Speaking of, I would like to also thank the Director of Tunnels, Bridges, and Terminals, Diane Eller, at the Port Authority for doing their part as well. And I would also like to thank our partners at the New York State Department of Transportation, as well as the New York State Bridge Authority, under its chair, Joan McDonald, and the New York State Thruway Authority, under its chair, Joanne Joni Mahoney. That's all I'll have to say. Last thing I want is to thank Jamie Barbas, for being a co-chair along with David Mack. I applaud you for your service, Miss Barbas. Thank you very much, and God bless each and everybody. Miss Pascone?
Thank you. The next speaker is Jack Nierenberg, followed by Jason Anthony.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jack Nierenberg, the Vice President of Passengers United. So it looks like we have a start date for the congestion pricing program, June 30th. Now, again, I want to reiterate that what was promised to the public by the MTA was that the funds that would be generated from congestion pricing would go specifically toward capital programs for the MTA. Now, unfortunately, given the MTA's track record of mismanagement, I'm not confident that that's going to happen. And unfortunately, many New Yorkers and many of the commuting public share this concern. So I'm just letting everyone know ahead of time that at the end of every month, through Freedom of Information Law requests, I'm going to be submitting those requests, and I want to see where exactly the money's going, how much has been raised, and if that money is staying within what was promised, which was the capital program dedicated funding stream. I don't want to see any of that money going anywhere else. I don't want to see any embezzlement, not saying that's going to happen. But at the same time, I want to make sure that the money that's being used from congestion pricing is going exactly where it was promised to the commuting public and to New Yorkers, which was for capital programs. So that's going to be happening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker is Jason Anthony, followed by Joseph Morales.
Good morning, Kathy. Mic is not on. Good morning, Kathy. Good morning, Jamie. I don't see David Mack here or on Zoom. But good morning, everyone. Jason Anthony from the Long Island Railroad 88 Task Force. For everyone's knowledge, this past Thursday, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey met on Thursday on its headquarters in the financial district in Lower Manhattan. And I asked all of their board members, including its President Rick Cotton, what was their position regarding congestion pricing. Their response, none. As we all know, this upcoming January, they will approve once again, like they do every year, a toll hike of 3% due to, quotation marks, inflation. Since that congestion pricing will be implemented on June 30th, we told them as New Yorkers, we don't want another toll hike because this is totally unfair. And we did not receive any response for the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. So, Kathy, you're doing a good job. Keep putting pressure on those toll evaders, because since that they're not paying their tolls, they should be fined or sending them to jail and sending their cars to the toll pound. So
Please
that's all I have
conclude
to
your
say for
remarks.
this month.
Thank you. The next speaker is Joseph Morales, followed by Murray Bowden.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Joseph Morales. I'm from Bronx Engineering and Technology Academy. I must say, I saw the procurement for this month. I'm really glad that the MTA is finding ways to save on EasyPass transponders by transitioning to sticker tags in the new contract. However, as EasyPass is a multi-state alliance and other states have separate toll programs, for example, Florida has the SunPass, I think that the MTA should work with other states to develop a national toll pass for anyone that anyone can use anywhere in the country, simply because a lot of people travel into and through New York for all sorts of purposes, and vice versa. So when there's less confusion, a universal system will help ensure that more tolls are paid and that they're paid on time. And as the MTA, like a few other speakers today have mentioned, is really focusing efforts on reducing toll evasion, I feel like that would be a great step in the right direction. Also, the MTA should look to increase EasyPass use. We all know that is a more efficient and affordable system, and yet tens of thousands of motorists, I saw the statistics, still pay by mail daily. And if you look at between January the rate increased from between 30,000 and 50,000 motorists a day between February 22 and February 2023, before surging to levels of mostly between 65K and 70K between June of last year and February of this year. Lastly, I noticed there was a significant drop in collisions at the Throgs Neck Bridge, even as major reconstruction continues. And several more projects are planned and underway at almost all Bridges and Tunnels facilities as per the MTA capital plan. Hence, the MTA, because I noticed there was some fluctuation in our collision statistics, should continue reviewing construction and traffic plans to ensure that motorists can operate safely on all our bridges, especially with congestion pricing on the way as well. Traffic at some of our facilities may change. Thank you for your time this month.
Thank you. The next speaker is Mary Bowden, followed by Alita Dupree.
That's okay. 2:00, 2:00 tomorrow afternoon. I'm meeting a team from Westchester County. We're going out to look at the road markings to see how they can be made safer for pedestrians and drivers and how to reduce costs. Please set up a meeting for me with the team from the Bridges and Tunnels to go around and see what can be done. I can make suggestions. You have to implement it. The world has changed. Discussion. I'm here because nothing works like discussing in person. I could never do this on Zoom. What I learned this morning is incredible to my future and my health. And I want to thank those people who spoke to me this morning and helped. So please set up a meeting. Nothing works like in person. I can only make suggestions. You choose what works and you implement it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Alita Dupree, followed by Jesse Figueroa.
Thank you. Good morning to the chair, Jamie Barbas, and members. Alita Dupree, for the record, she and her with Team Folds can talk about bridges and tunnels. The reports look good. We're doing well with our fare recovery. We can always do better. Enforcement is essential because that money helps to keep these bridges safe. We have to pay our bonding. We got bills to pay. Did see in the report that we have some electricity and we also have some fuel. So can we get some electric vehicles and we can use less fuel and more electricity for our system? And how do we get more people interested in Easy Pass? I don't have a car. I don't have Easy Pass, but I actually had a Pike Pass in Oklahoma in 1991. That was one of the first systems to do this type of electronic tolling. So I was on the ground floor with that. It works. Electronic tolling is working. And I haven't gotten to do any bridges and tunnels on this day yet. Maybe later in the week I'll do some and take a bus across. But toll plazas are definitely safer when you drive under the transponders. And you no longer have the plazas there. Yeah, this morning I went through the Lincoln Tunnel from New Jersey. The plaza's still there. Hopefully it'll come down. So having the open space there is making it safer and easier to get through. So this is working, and I'm reading your statements. I think we're running at or close to pre-COVID. So let's be ready for the future. Bridge and tunnels is important to me, even though I don't get to use it much. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Jesse Figueroa, followed by Michael Ring.
Good morning, everybody. Jesse Figueroa here, U.S. Army veteran and member of the Long Island Railroad Accessibility Task Force. I like to say, Kathy, good job on what you do and keep up the good work on toll evasions. And 3 options I like to quote from my fellow colleague, Jason Anthony. 3 options: pay the toll or get your car impounded, or if worse, If you have a warrant, you go to jail. Other than that, keep up the good work, especially to MTA police and the TBTA police. Thank you.
Thank you. The next and final speaker is Michael Ring.
Good morning. My name is Michael Ring, and a verbal description of my appearance would show that I'm a 60-year-old white guy wearing a hideous T-shirt that says I ran the Brooklyn Half Marathon yesterday, and that's going to be relevant in a second. I really want to say to you guys, shame on you for floating the idea of collecting money during the New York City Marathon from the participants. $750,000 is $15 a participant. You can't possibly be losing that much money on race day. People may not drive over the bridge that day, but they're driving another day, and the millions of dollars of tourism money that comes into the city is a big deal. You should be going in the other direction. In September, I ran the marathon in Berlin, and everyone who ran the marathon rode the subways and buses for free that weekend. They gave us a pass. You can do better. You don't have to have Kathy Hochul, who probably doesn't know how to use a MetroCard, tell you guys how to be better. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chair, that concludes the public comment.
Thank you, Rose. Due to the fact that we don't have a quorum this morning, we will defer the approval of the minutes of the March 2024 B&T committee meeting. President Sheridan, are there any changes to the work plan?
Good morning, Chair Barbas. There are no changes to the work plan. I'd like to note that the fourth quarter 2023 diversity report for bridges and tunnels is included in this month's committee materials. I've been advised there will be an MTA-wide diversity report provided at the Diversity Committee later today.
Thank you. President Sheridan, will you start off with some remarks, please?
Sure. So before we move to today's agenda, I'd like to follow up on Commissioner Tessitore's request at the end of last month's meeting. As to the matter of the future of the agency's staffing needs, specifically related to enforcement, it's a little premature to actually have that discussion at this time. We don't have a comprehensive update. Last month, the agency opted into a 20-year retirement plan for both the officers and supervisors unions, but we don't know the impacts of that yet. We've been working with the New York City retirement system to offer guidance to our eligible employees, but none have actually taken advantage of the opportunity yet, so we don't know what that's going to look like. Is it going to be, considerable, or is it manageable? So we will give an update to the committee when we do have more information. That said, we've gained flexibility with the supervisors union and have increased the frequency and intensity of our enforcement activities against toll evasion via our own targeted operations, as well as participation in the joint task force with our city and state partners. As you may have seen in the news coverage, we continue our dynamic interagency law enforcement partnership in the crackdown on the use of covered or fraudulent license plates and persistent toll evaders. In the past month, we've had 8 targeted joint operations, resulting in the interdiction of 425 vehicles, more than 3,000 summonses issued, and 89 arrests. For those who were B&T toll violators, they owed more than $1.8 million. I congratulate our bridge and tunnel officers, as well as our task force partners, and I'll be sure to keep updating you on these efforts as we go along. So for the first time, B&T had a presence at the New York Auto Show held at the Jacob Javits Center. Our display area, which featured one of our fully equipped patrol vehicles as part of the Hometown Heroes presentation, was a big hit with visitors of all ages. Employees who staffed the booth also sold almost 100 Easy Pass on-the-go tags, provided agency information at an on-site career fair, and answered all manner of questions about our facilities, tolling operations, and congestion pricing. It was a positive educational experience on all fronts. Shifting to a historic note, 85 years ago today marked the opening of the Bronx Whitestone Bridge, which is our committee focus this month. The bridge was constructed in just under 2 years and opened on April 29, 1939. Commuters and visitors who pass through or spend time in Grand Central Terminal will be treated to a display featuring bridge images and artifacts in our Vanderbilt Passage window space. I want to thank our Metro North colleagues for facilitating this installation. working with our central maintenance carpentry crew and the B&T Special Archive. Any history or profile of the Whitestone Bridge would not be complete without a nod to our facility teams. These employees know their facilities like the back of their hand, and it's reassuring to me, as it should be to our customers, that they're on the ground every day making sure customers cross our roadways safely and efficiently. And speaking of customer service, I'm pleased to note our customers can now subscribe to notifications for bridges and tunnels as part of the MTA's upgraded email and text alert system to stay informed of traffic impacts or planned closures at our facilities. The system enables subscribers to easily set up service alerts for any of our 9 crossings and tailor the days and times to individual preferences. We're pleased to offer this enhanced information tool, which anyone can sign up for at mta.info. So now we'll return to the Bronx-Whitestone Bridge theme, and this month we've asked our C&D colleague, Senior Vice President and TBTA Chief Engineer Joe Keene, to discuss a history of capital improvements to the Whitestone Bridge. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you, Kathy. The Bronx-Whitestone Bridge connecting the Bronx to Queens, designed by the great Otmar Ammann, opened to traffic in April 1939, just in time for the World's Fair in Flushing Meadow Park. The opening of what was at the time the 4th longest suspension bridge in the world, with a central span of 2,300 feet and a total length of 7,100 feet, after less than 2 years of construction, was a monumental achievement of the young Triborough Bridge Authority. The bridge's long, slender, and spare design was an aesthetic triumph. The Bronx-Whitestone Bridge was described on opening day as the finest suspension bridge of them all, without comparison in lightness and absence of pretentious ornamentation. The bridge connects the Hutchinson River Parkway in the Bronx and the Whitestone Expressway and Cross Island Parkway in Queens. The residential communities of Whitestone and Malba flank the south side of the span in Queens, while Ferry Point Park is adjacent to the bridge's administration building in the Bronx. The bridge was originally a 4-lane bridge with 2 more travel lanes added in 1947, giving the current configuration of 3 lanes in each direction. The slim, elegant design of the bridge shared many of the characteristics of the Tacoma Narrows Bridge, which collapsed in 1940 as a result of wind-induced oscillations. Thereafter, several retrofits were made to the Bronx-Whitestone Bridge to mitigate against any similar issues. These included the addition of diagonal stay cables, as well as heavy steel stiffening trusses on both sides of the bridge, and later the addition of dampers, which are essentially weights that are released in a high wind event to add stability. While these measures helped, they added considerable weight to the bridge without fully addressing wind vulnerabilities. TBTA subsequently implemented a series of major retrofits starting in 2002 to reduce the weight on the bridge's cables and install a lighter and more effective solution to improve the bridge's aerodynamic performance. The heavy stiffening trusses were removed, and an innovative lightweight fiberglass fairing designed to minimize wind-induced oscillation was added, restoring the bridge to its original spare and graceful appearance. Replacement of the original concrete-filled steel grid deck with a lighter prefabricated steel deck followed in 2004. Combined with previous improvements, this project alleviated thousands of tons of weight from the span, significantly reducing load on the main cable and resulting in a more robust and durable suspension span. Attention next turned to the approach spans, from the on-grade highway connections to the suspended span. These approaches were aging and deteriorating after 7 decades of use, when we embarked on a program to completely replace them with new modern structures that were wider, more redundant, and resilient, with 12-foot lanes and safety shoulders. The Bronx approach was replaced in 2012, and the Queens approach was replaced in 2015. The new approach structures comprise a more redundant 3-pier configuration with 4-foot inside shoulders and 12-foot right shoulders, meeting modern standards. These replacement projects, as well as the suspended span deck reconstruction, were carried out while maintaining full peak direction travel capacity through use of a movable barrier and diversions to the nearby Throgs Neck Bridge. In 2017, TBTA implemented cashless open road tolling, a first in our region, at all facilities, in an accelerated 10-month program that transformed the customer experience at our bridges and tunnels, reduced collisions, vehicle emissions, and saved countless hours of travel time. While the Bronx-Whitestone and neighboring Throgs Neck Bridge were the final crossings to convert operations both on September 30, 2017, the last cash toll in B&T history was collected at the Bronx-Whitestone. Demolition of the old toll booths followed immediately thereafter. As we continue to evolve and meet the needs of customers in a changed traffic environment, we focused on a southbound traffic merge area between the Whitestone Expressway and the Cross Island Parkway in Queens. In July of 2020, during the height of the COVID pandemic, taking full advantage of reduced traffic volumes, B&T implemented a small but consequential improvement in the diverge area by widening and reconfiguring lanes. The results have been dramatic and have resulted in a 75% reduction in vehicle collisions at this location. In the last 4 years, as part of an overall resiliency project, new marine vessel pier protection was constructed at the tower piers. This project also added supplementary fire standpipes that can be supplied with water via FDNY fireboats. The most significant current project at the bridge is a resiliency project that adds redundant power feeds from Queens and automatic switching of electrical power, allowing full interborough electrical redundancy. The work also entails installation of flood protection and improvements that will enhance overall facility resiliency and state of good repair. This project is planned for completion in 2016. The Bronx-Whitestone Bridge has undergone quite a transformation over the past 85 years, adapting to the ever-changing needs of the region. In the past 32 years, the MTA has invested over $1 billion at the Bronx-Whitestone Bridge, and we continue to plan for future investments to ensure it remains the vital and essential link it has always been. I want to acknowledge the success of the Bronx-Whitestone Bridge in remaining dynamic and meeting customer needs is due to a team effort by the entire TBTA and MTA family of engineers, maintainers, operations, and other support staff, all working together to continue to make this graceful suspension bridge the best that it can be. Thank you, and that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Joe. Here's to many more decades ahead for the Bronx-Whitestone Bridge. Are there any questions by any commissioners? Okay, we're going to move on to procurements. We have an information item. Since we don't have a quorum, we will be moving this to the board meeting tomorrow, but Lynn Gore, our Deputy Chief Procurement Officer, will present the information item.
Thank you, Kathy. Procurements start on page 44 of the committee book. There are no non-competitive procurements or ratifications. There are 3 competitive contracts in a total amount of $25 million. MTA Bridges and Tunnels requests board approval to award 3 competitively solicited miscellaneous estimated quantity procurement contracts to Transcore LP, Neology Inc., and Star Systems America, LLC, to provide electronic transponders and related equipment and services for the EasyPass electronic toll collection system in the aggregated not-to-exceed amount of $25 million over a period of 5 years. Unless there are questions, these procurements are described and detailed in enclosed staff summary. I submit these procurement actions to the committee for approval. Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn. Any questions on the procurements? Okay, so as I said, those will go to the board tomorrow. So before we conclude, I'd like to say a few words about our longtime colleague, Lynn Gore. He's retiring after an impressive 38 years of service to the MTA and B&T. In fact, Lynn's last day is tomorrow, and it's a testament to his unwavering dedication that he's here now, continuing to work up until his final hours, wrapping up our important B&T matters. And while I've known Lynn for a relatively short time in his long tenure, I can attest from my frequent dealings with him over this very busy past year we've had, his professionalism, his institutional knowledge are just boundless. And that goes for his patience, mostly with me, his reassuring manner, and his sense of humor. So speaking on behalf of the entire TBTA agency, we will miss you, and we wish you well in your retirement. So if there are no further questions, this concludes B&T's committee report.
This concludes the meeting. Thank you.